Hello and welcome. It's wonderful to have you here as we explore something that can really change how we look at life, especially after reaching the age of 61. I know some of you might be in this stage, and for others it may feel like it's far off. But no matter your age, the wisdom gained from experiencing life up until this point can teach us all something important. So, let me ask, where are you in life right now? Are you past the age of 61, or maybe you're on the way there? Perhaps you're in your 40s or 50s and curious about what lies ahead. Take a moment to reflect on that. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your journey. As we move forward, we'll talk about some things that might not make sense once you reach the age of 61 and beyond, and why that's actually a good thing. In fact, this phase of life can feel like a fresh start, where the weight of old worries and societal expectations begins to lift, allowing us to focus on what truly matters. The best part? We get to live this part of life more authentically and free from unnecessary pressures. So, let's dive in and explore these changes, starting with something that hits close to home for many people. Relationships. 1. Holding on to toxic relationships. At any point in life, we might find ourselves in relationships that drain us. These can be friendships, family ties, or even romantic partnerships. When we're younger, there's often a sense of duty. I should keep this person in my life because I've known them forever, or they're family, so I have to make it work. But as we reach 61, we begin to see things more clearly. The emotional weight of toxic relationships becomes harder to ignore. Imagine this. You've been friends with someone for years, but every time you meet, they criticize you or bring negativity into your life. Over time, this negativity starts to weigh on you. Does it still make sense to keep these kinds of relationships in your life at this stage? The truth is, it doesn't. By now, you've learned that life is short. You deserve people around you who support, respect, and appreciate you. It's time to let go of relationships that drain your energy, even if it's difficult. Yes, it's hard, especially when you've known someone for years or feel obligated. But the act of walking away is not about giving up. It's about preserving your emotional health and creating space for the relationships that truly matter. I can think of someone who, in their 60s, decided to cut ties with a family member who was constantly manipulative and toxic. At first, it felt like a loss, but soon they realized that their emotional space had opened up and they could finally breathe. They began connecting with friends who nurtured and uplifted them. Isn't that something we all want? To feel lighter and more supported in our relationships? 2. Worrying about what others think. One of the most freeing realizations after 61 is that the opinions of others really don't matter the way they used to. As we get older, we gain wisdom. The wisdom that living for others' approval is exhausting and ultimately unnecessary. When you're younger, there's often this pressure to conform, whether it's fitting into a certain role at work, living up to family expectations, or dressing the right way. But by 61, you've likely seen and experienced enough to know what's truly important. Does it make sense anymore to worry about how others see you? The simple answer, no, it doesn't. You start realizing that the judgments of others are just reflections of their own values and biases. They're not necessarily a reflection of who you are. This is one of the most liberating aspects of aging. You get to live for yourself. No longer do you have to adhere to the social molds that have shaped your younger years. Let's talk about living authentically. What's something you've always wanted to do, but held back because you worried about others' opinions? Maybe it's wearing the clothes that make you feel happy, starting a new hobby, or spending your time in a way that feels true to you. What's stopping you now? When you release the need for approval, you open yourself up to a world of possibility and joy. Imagine choosing to downsize your home to simplify life, or traveling to places you've always dreamed of. It's your time now, and you deserve to prioritize your own happiness. Clinging to material possessions. We live in a world that often encourages the accumulation of things. Bigger houses, newer cars, endless gadgets. But after 61, we start to realize that material possessions don't hold the same power they once did. Consider this. For years, you worked hard to fill your house with things that seemed essential at the time. But now, as you walk through your space, some of these items feel like nothing more than clutter. Does that old furniture still bring you joy? Or are you just holding on to it because it's always been there? This is the perfect time to declutter. Whether it's old clothes, unused kitchen gadgets, or even entire rooms in the house that you no longer need, letting go of things that no longer serve you can bring a new sense of freedom. Less truly can be more. Fewer possessions mean fewer things to take care of, less stress, and more time for what truly matters. I once met someone who downsized their home after retiring. They sold most of their furniture, keeping only the items that had sentimental value. It wasn't just about having fewer things. It was about embracing a simpler, more peaceful way of living. The best part? They felt lighter, more relaxed, and ready to explore new experiences. 4. Pursuing outdated goals. Think about the goals you set when you were younger. Perhaps it was climbing the corporate ladder, buying a house, raising a family, or reaching financial milestones. These goals served a purpose at the time. But now, as you reach 61, some of these goals might no longer resonate with who you are. Does it still make sense to pursue goals that no longer align with your values or desires? The answer, again, is no. When you're older, you realize that your priorities have shifted. What once seemed important may now seem trivial or even burdensome. Letting go of outdated goals opens the door to new opportunities. Maybe you no longer care about advancing in your career, and instead you want to focus on personal growth, hobbies, or spending time with family. What new goals are calling you now? It could be as simple as traveling the world, taking up painting, or learning a new language. This is your time to explore what brings you joy, and your goals should reflect the person you've become, not the person you were decades ago. Letting work define your worth. Many people, especially those who have spent decades building their careers, find it difficult to detach their identity from their job. For years, work provides structure, purpose, and a sense of accomplishment. But after reaching 61, it often stops making sense to let work alone define who you are. As we age, we begin to realize that our worth is not tied to a job title, a paycheck, or how many hours we work. Work can no longer be the sole factor by which we measure success. The constant grind, long hours, and workplace pressures that once fueled ambition can seem less important when viewed against the backdrop of a life well lived. This is a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how do you define yourself now? Is it still by your career? Or are there other aspects of your identity, your relationships, your passions, or your experiences that deserve more attention? For many, this is the time to reassess career goals and shift the focus from professional achievements to personal fulfillment. If you're retiring or slowing down, it's a chance to explore hobbies, invest in new skills, or simply enjoy more time with loved ones. Even if you continue working, it should be on your terms, driven by a sense of purpose and enjoyment, not obligation or external expectations. The lesson here is that our value isn't defined by our work. Work can be a fulfilling part of life, but it's important to remember it's not the entirety of our identity. 6. Fear of taking risks. It's natural to be cautious as we get older. Many people after 61 become hesitant to take risks, especially when it comes to major life changes. We may be afraid to try something new or take on a challenge that seems out of reach. But the truth is, fear of risk becomes less relevant after age 61 because we start to prioritize experiences and fulfillment over safety. Think about it. How many times have you let fear hold you back from trying something you were passionate about? Maybe it was starting a new business, moving to a new place, or pursuing an adventurous hobby. Often we are so consumed with the consequences of failure that we don't even take the first step. But now, as you age, you realize that life is too short to be dictated by fear. What's the worst that could happen? If it doesn't work out, you can learn from it, adjust, and keep moving forward. The freedom that comes with this perspective is priceless. I want to share a story about my own aunt, who decided to go back to college at age 62. Everyone told her it was too late, that she'd never finish. But she took the risk, and not only did she graduate with honors, but she also felt incredibly proud of herself. She had always wanted to pursue a career in teaching, and though it took longer than she initially planned, the journey was worth it. By stepping outside her comfort zone, she opened up a world of new opportunities, connections, and a deep sense of personal achievement. Taking risks, even small ones, can bring new joys and opportunities that enrich our lives. 7. Avoiding the tough conversations. One thing that becomes clearer after 61 is the importance of speaking your truth. In earlier years, we often avoid difficult conversations to maintain peace or avoid conflict. We might suppress our feelings, hold back from expressing our needs, or stay silent when something isn't right. But at this stage of life, it becomes apparent that avoiding these conversations only leads to frustration and regret. Why? Because we understand that time is precious, and there's no point in waiting for the perfect time to have the difficult conversations that can bring clarity, healing, or peace of mind. Whether it's with a family member, a friend, or even in a romantic relationship, addressing issues head-on can lead to greater understanding and closeness. Honest communication is the key to freeing ourselves from emotional burdens. I remember a neighbor who, after 63, finally told her daughter how much she appreciated her. She had always assumed her daughter knew how she felt, but the simple act of saying it aloud made their relationship stronger than it had ever been before. It was an emotional breakthrough for both of them. So, if you've been putting off a tough conversation, now is the time to speak up. Whether it's about setting boundaries, expressing gratitude, or resolving old misunderstandings, the freedom you gain from these moments is life-changing. 8. Living according to someone else's expectations. It's common to spend much of our younger years living to meet other people's expectations. Parents, society, even our peers. There's often a constant pressure to be successful in the eyes of others, whether through career choices, relationships, or lifestyle. However, after 61, many begin to realize that these expectations are not always aligned with our own desires. We no longer feel the need to follow societal scripts or please others at the expense of our own happiness. You might have been told what to wear, what career to pursue, or where to live. But as you approach this stage of life, you begin to give yourself permission to live for yourself. I know someone who was pressured for years to take over their family business. But after retirement, they realized their true passion was painting. They sold their business, started an art studio, and haven't looked back since. Now they are living life on their own terms, doing what they love, surrounded by people who appreciate them for who they truly are. The lesson here is this: at 61 and beyond, you have the freedom to step away from the pressure to meet others' expectations and instead live authentically. Choose what makes you happy, not what others think will make you happy. 9. Overthinking the future. When we're young, we tend to be hyper-focused on the future. We plan meticulously, make long-term goals, and often worry about what's to come. However, as we age, this constant focus on the future starts to lose its significance. After 61, many people begin to realize that while planning is important, spending too much time worrying about the future only takes away from the present. We learn to embrace the fact that the future is uncertain and that the best way to prepare for it is to live well in the now. Think about how often you find yourself overthinking the next big step, whether it's financial security, health concerns, or even family dynamics. These thoughts are natural, but they shouldn't dominate your life. Taking one step at a time, being present, and adjusting as you go is often the best approach. A friend of mine was always planning for the perfect retirement. She stressed about savings, where to live, and how to spend her time. But one day, she realized that she had already made it. Her retirement wasn't defined by a location or the amount of money she had. It was about the people around her, the joy of her hobbies, and her overall health. She stopped worrying so much about what might happen and began savoring the moments in front of her. Living in the present, rather than constantly looking ahead, allows us to appreciate life more fully. 10. Neglecting self-care. Finally, after a lifetime of putting others first, many of us reach 61 and realize that we've neglected our own needs. Whether it's prioritizing work, family, or obligations, we've often placed ourselves on the back burner. But this doesn't make sense anymore. At this stage of life, it's crucial to take care of yourself, physically, mentally, and emotionally. You are deserving of the same care and attention you've given others for so long. For example, a woman I know spent decades caring for her family, but found herself exhausted and drained. She had to take a step back to focus on her own health, eating better, exercising, and practicing mindfulness. Not only did this improve her health, but it also made her a better mother, friend, and community member. At 61 and beyond, it's okay to prioritize your well-being. Taking time for self-care doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. You can't pour from an empty cup. Closing thoughts. Reaching the age of 61 is like turning a new page in the story of your life. It's a time of freedom, reflection, and the ability to let go of the things that no longer serve you. From letting go of toxic relationships to stopping the obsession with material things, each lesson learned is a step toward living a life that is truly fulfilling. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How have your priorities shifted as you've gotten older? Have you let go of anything that no longer made sense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. As we close this chapter on the lessons learned after 61, it's important to remember that life doesn't stop at any age. It only evolves. Every stage offers new opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and joy. Though we may leave behind old habits, fears, and limiting beliefs, the journey toward a life of meaning and fulfillment is never truly over. What you've learned up until now is the foundation of what comes next. The wisdom you've gained, the resilience you've built, and the experiences you've accumulated are not just memories. They are your stepping stones to a richer, deeper existence. At 61 and beyond, the world becomes a canvas for new possibilities. There's no set script for this chapter. It's about embracing the unknown, taking risks that excite you, nurturing relationships that bring you peace, and investing in yourself in ways you've never allowed before. The future may be uncertain, but it's filled with endless potential for those brave enough to take it on. Whether you're still navigating your career, pursuing new passions, or simply cherishing the everyday moments, the greatest lesson of all is this: it's never too late to become the person you've always wanted to be. So, let go of what no longer serves you, step boldly into the future, and continue to savor the precious gift of time. After 61, life is not just something you endure, it's something you live with joy, purpose, and authenticity. And always remember, the best is yet to come. Thank you for being part of this journey, and may the path ahead be one filled with peace, adventure, and endless possibility.